Hey, I'm Chris Anderson. I'm a cartoonist, writer, and storyboard artist. My work can be found in the pages of Creepshow and Heavy Metal. My co-creations Lost Angels, Spectral, A Showcase of Fear, Chaotic Neutral, as well as my upcoming books Something Seems Off and Three-Headed Pigman, which will be serialized on my Patreon. Today, we're going to be talking with Matt Lesniewski, who is one of the most interesting cartoonists working today. And we're going to discuss his book, Faceless and the Family. Welcome to Chris Anderson Comics. Hey, everybody. I'm super lucky to have my friend Matt Lesniewski on the channel today. Everything good?
Oh, yeah, definitely. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm very busy. I'm very grateful to be busy, but I'm also very exhausted.
Yeah, better busy than not, I guess.
Yeah. It's just the name of the game. It's one or the other. So I want to talk about Faceless and the Family with you a little bit. But first, I want to talk about a little bit of your evolution as a cartoonist, because I can honestly say that for me personally, you are one of, if not the most exciting cartoonists working right now, because you have such a unique take on everything. I can't look at your work and say, oh, it's like this or that. It's like I don't see any really DNA from anybody except for your own. You just kind of did your own thing, and it really, really works. And
Stop.
I the first time, take it, man. The first time I ever saw your work was with The Freak. Was The Freak your first published book?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any like zines or anything small before that, or was this just the first time you
Oh,
just
yeah,
went for it?
definitely. Yeah, I had before that one, I had another four-issue mini that I wrote and drew. I don't want anyone to look it up because it's not very good, but
Okay. Okay.
there's other stuff out there if you really want to see it. I
Right.
mean, if you have no, if
Right.
there are
Right.
good comics out there, you can not waste your time, but feel free to do what you want.
Okay. So just
So,
know that if you do a big enough or hard enough investigation, you can find previous work, right?
yeah.
Um, so this really, like the cover, especially when I first saw it, really stood out to me. I went, "Whoa, what is that?" Um, it's a little weird, and it's compelling, and this guy, like, who is this guy? He looks like he lives in the hills, and I want to know more about him. It's like like I'm into carnival barkers and weird people.
Hmm.
So I picked it up. This is from Ad House. I think I picked it up from you because you did this like awesome drawing that I thought was just part of the book, but it's not.
Can you
You
zoom
drew
that in?
that?
I want to remember it.
Yeah. Well,
Hang on.
thank you for that.
Nice.
Um,
Okay.
and so, going in, this was a really cool book. The only thing that I could like even possibly say that it looked like to me was maybe Darrow, because of the sort of thin dead line and the amount of detail that you put in.
Yeah.
But it's also very much not Darrow. Um,
Sure.
you the way that you draw your figures and everything and textures, it's something completely different. So that was then you the other reason that I really, really, really like you as a cartoonist is that you evolve. And there's so many cartoonists that don't put in the time and the effort to, or are afraid to change, because, oh, my fan base expects me to look like this, and you as a cartoonist want to get better. You want to just do the best that you can, right? And so
Yeah.
I don't, it evolves. So then I've got Static. Now, which came first, Static or Crimson Flower?
Uh, I drew Static first, but it came out
Okay.
after Crimson Flower.
Okay, so I had a I was a part of the Crimson Flower started as a Patreon, right?
Yeah.
And then got picked up by, what was it, Dark Horse?
Yeah.
Okay. And so the Patreon got shut down, and I never ended up picking up a copy of Crimson Flower. I feel terrible, but I did pick up this. You drew also a picture for me in here,
Nice.
which is cool. Let's see that one, so you remember it.
Cool.
And so there was an evolution in here now. Crimson Flower and Static. Are you coloring this? Who's coloring this? Oh,
Carlos Padilla.
Carlos Padilla. Right. Okay. And so it's interesting to see your work in color and your style shifts. I don't know how to put my finger on how it changed, but
I
it
could
did.
kind of throw something out there. Basically, we were talking on another episode. I don't know if that's come out yet, or
No.
about how shadows and doing shading and that kind of thing the longest time, from a kid all the way to essentially the Freak. There's a little glimpses of it in the Freak, but Static
Yeah.
was the first one where I really tried to dive in with it. So if you really
And
kind of
you're talking about like this, right?
kind of hard to see it.
Right
Yes,
here.
yeah, stuff like
Like
that.
where it transitions from sort of like white to dark.
Right, because if you compare that to the Freak,
Mm-hmm.
by and large, it's just like a Darrow type style where there's
Right.
little to no value there. It's just kind of the line,
Right.
which
Yeah.
it was. Um, it was also kind of like a self-imposed rule at the time, which was really dumb. But for whatever reason, I had it in my head like, with this book, I definitely want it to be, um, what can I do with the singular line? That's the only tool
Yeah.
you've got. Let's see what you can do with that. And shadows and value, all of that. That's that. We're not using that. We've already established that. But this book in particular, it's going to be a single line, mostly one line weight, and just kind of go with that. And uh, an early idea I had was,
Mm-hmm.
I had the idea to start with a fresh micron in the beginning of the book, just like the Freak has his one tool, the shovel, and use it through the entire book with that one tool and just see what you can do with it. But I never ended up.
Did
I'm like, you
it
know what?
did it
That's a
work?
little.
The micron didn't run out?
No, luckily sanity set in, and I'm like, that's a bad idea. So let's not do that. So
Yeah.
it was taking
I
that
like that
singular
idea in
line.
theory. Yeah.
Yeah, it was taking the singular idea, singular tool concept, and pushing it a little too far. So
Right.
anyway,
This character is a good shot of him. Some of these characters are these character designs are so freaky. These mashups, such a good job on those.
thanks.
I know. I was
Actually,
just gonna zoom through these, but man, look at that guy. What the heck is that? There's a reason for me to pause here.
sure.
And then so let's take a look at your sketchbook here. So you've got some stuff in here that's sort of like goes from like like 2019 to 20, even
Something like that,
19 and
yeah.
20 basically. So then you see this other evolution in your work and in your do you do a lot of your exploring in commission work? Because I know as a working cartoonist, there's not a lot of time to just fuck around, and
Yeah.
sometimes I know that when I get commissions and stuff, that's the time that I can just have fun and mess around and try something new. So is that where you kind of
Yeah,
do some of your stuff too?
definitely. I can't remember for sure what's in that book, but there were
Hmm.
certain ones that were almost too experimental. Uh, like there was a
You
good
really
stretch
pushed it.
there. What's that?
You really push it, especially with your walking and stuff like that, like funky IG88 here, like
Oh yeah,
stuff like that. He's just you can hear the funk music playing as he's walking.
yeah.
Even with was it Conan here or something?
Hmm. There was definitely a window of time there. Maybe like that's a good example right there. The Bizarro, right
This one?
there. Yeah, on the right. I really kind
Hmm.
of that was a bad era. That was a point where I was experimenting too much for sure. Like it just this was actually like that when what can you see what year that was? Was it 2020?
This was 2020.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that was like a weird growth spurt era where it was just ugly, but it's like I'm figuring stuff out and I'm trying
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
But once I got to the other end of it, I like where I landed. I like where
yeah.
well, let's not say landed, but because I don't feel like I've ever landed. It just once I got past that weird phase, I don't even know
Hmm.
what that was. Looking back on it, it was just
Well, it
kind of
seems to
strange.
me like
But
you're just kind of playing with different textures, and seeing what works and what can make depth and what can do other things. Like I really love this way that you did like the geometric shapes, the circles,
trying to see
excuse
it.
me, and the squares
Oh yeah,
to,
yeah,
and it's wild and it's weird, um, but it works, and I can see where you're going here with this cape. It's a that you're figuring out your hatching, your this odd hatching. You'll take that in your next project to like turn it up to 11.
yeah,
But you had to do this. You had to work this out. You don't
yeah.
just
I
like
think
think,
so.
oh, I'm gonna create this kind of hatching. You have to actually do it. You can't read a book about art and become an artist. You have to do the work. And this is where
I'm,
you were doing
I'm
it.
glad you. I'm glad you say that because I feel like far too often I'm just not hearing that enough. That a lot of how you figure stuff out is through actually doing it. At least with drawing, and
It is.
constantly I'm just asked like, who are your influences? Who are your influences? And like they think they're gonna find the doorway I went through to get there by asking that question, and it's just like
No.
that is no, yeah. So yeah, it's more through doing weird. At least for me, it's through doing trying different stuff, making some ugly work, and
Yeah.
like sharpening the tool, so to speak, and
Yeah, you make
figuring
some sort
out.
of yeah, you make some sort of weird mistake
Hmm.
or whatever, and it works. So you remember that, you try it on the next one, you hone it, you fine tune it, that doesn't come from somebody previous. That came from you working it out on the page, and that's what makes you you.
It's also like you're kind of exploring in the middle of it,
Mhm.
and you can figure something out like, oh, that worked. I just found something. Now let me see where I can take this, and then you on the next one you can you go down that road. So,
Yeah.
but you kind of have to keep searching and trying stuff.
Yeah, I can really see it in this demon where it's starting to gel for you. The way that you did this foot with the circle
Yeah,
going all the way around. That's
yeah,
wild and it works really well. This is in your toolbox now, the way that you hatch this tree. You
yeah,
use that. These circles, I feel like they disappeared for your next project, like the geometric shapes and stuff,
yeah. They're
but they
actually
still work.
little
Smiley
smiley
faces.
or
Yeah.
frowny faces. But I just
Yeah.
did that for that one because I
Yeah.
don't know why it popped in my head like um, he was in despair in this
Yeah.
image that popped in my head. So kind of playing on the emotional concepts, I guess. It's
Yeah.
adding to that theme with the and then I'd use those to create value, like,
Right.
because at that time I was trying different things, like what anything can be a shadow, like lettering can be a shadow, or because
Yeah.
it wasn't long before that I even really gave it a serious try with static. So around that time, it was like I'm really trying stuff, like,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of texture.
Same.
And that is all that this is. So obviously, I'm a big fan of it. I just love looking at you, the way that you explore it and play with different things. You started with, so static was after some of these or before some of these?
Static was 2019 is when I drew it. Pretty much
Okay.
all
Okay.
of
So there's some
2019.
Okay. So there's some 2020s in here, and you kind of, well,
And
yeah, you're
Crimson
seeing even
Flower
in
was
2019.
2020.
Okay. So you're seeing where you really are starting to get that transition from like light to dark and adding value with the stuff. So this looks like almost like the Freak, where there's less transition.
Yeah.
But you're starting to get it.
Mm-hmm. Plus certain
I mean, I don't.
certain pieces you might be less confident.
Yeah.
Like definitely over there in the Spawn. By that point, I'm pretty settled in.
Where's the Spawn? Oh, I missed it. Where's the Spawn? Did I skip
You just
it?
had it. It was
Oh, here. Yeah.
black background.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Like I never would have
Yeah,
attempted
because
that.
even just putting a black background is going to push it forward, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big step.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love all your iterations of Swamp Thing.
thanks.
Let's see. I'm not sure when this is coming out. I think. Okay, so I think I'm gonna have an art book announced by the time that this comes out, and I also have a few Swamp Things in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I draw him a little bit different every time I do it,
Yeah.
because he's such an organic character. He's just so much fun to play with.
The only thing is,
So yeah, I mean,
he's so open that it almost creates too much. There's no
yeah, you really pushed him here.
there's almost no through line to hang on to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas, let's say a Batman, it's very established what he is, so you're always hanging on to that safety rope. So if you're kind of like going out of the borders of what he can be, there's less thinking to be done, and you can just kind of like free flow pencil and create different directions you can kind of pull and stretch and change, and while still, hey, this is Batman.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because Swamp Thing's just sort of a blob.
With Swamp Thing, it's like you're in a swamp. You're just like, there's little to nothing really holding him there. Especially, you don't have that green.
Yeah.
So, there are a few things you could throw in, like the face, the signature nose
skull
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that.
And a figure that's in some way swampy, I guess. So
yeah, maybe that's why I'm so attracted to that character, is because it can sort of be anything. This is a really good example of your evolution. This is 2 years apart, 2019 and 2021. And here you see your development of these folds and ripples in the pants and the fabric, where you didn't really have it before. You were
Mhm.
getting there, you were figuring it out,
Yeah.
you used a lot of line to show the contour then, and not that you don't now, but now you're using, because you do in sort of like the rope and stuff, but now you're using value in different ways. You're stippling and you're cross hatching, not necessarily in that direction, in a contour direction, more in a movement direction, right?
Yeah.
Would you say?
Hmm.
Just stuff I'm seeing. Just so cool. All right. So you got to see a little bit of your evolution through there. And then it culminates now in the time that we're in with Faceless in the Family. Your stories, this was the one that came out. It was crowdfunded through Zoop. Um, it wasn't that long ago. Was at Heroes Con last year. We're like months away from Heroes Con this year, so it hasn't been a full year. That you just had, like, I think one copy there. You had just gotten your hands on it, maybe, or a couple copies, maybe.
I had like a stack of like 25, 30, something like that.
So you had just gotten them.
Yeah. They shipped them to my hotel.
Oh
So I
yeah,
had them just in time.
yeah. Was that the first time you saw it in person?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
That moment's always pretty good. It's always a little bit weird too, because you want to go in positive, and then, like, I don't know, with me anyway, the first thing I start doing is going, "Oh no, this didn't work. Oh no, that didn't."
Yeah.
But I mean, hopefully, luckily, you're seeing it. You saw it through the same eyes as I'm seeing it, because like that spot gloss on the helmet and the lettering is just
Yeah, that was
so
a nice
nice. And
touch.
then, uh, the printing is just so good on this, and it's like magazine size. It's
Yep.
not standard comic size. Um, you like to, or it seems like you like to write about characters that are sort of outcasts and feel like they don't fit somewhere, right? We got, because of like the freak and this, and it
Hmm.
seems to be a theme through your work.
Could be.
You all right, buddy?
Yeah.
you 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 know you fit in with all of us weirdos.
Yeah.
um so where did this come from? I mean, I hate to ask that question because I feel like it's a lame question, but where was the impetus for this book?
Well, I've talked about it before, but the
Yeah,
initial
I'm
early, because it kept evolving to where it
yeah.
got to what it is now. But the very, very first nugget of the idea was from a movie, um, The Invitation.
Yeah,
It's from maybe 2015.
yeah,
Um, and part of what happens in issue one or chapter one of this edition um, is was inspired by from that movie.
oh
I don't know if people haven't seen it. Long
yeah,
story short, it's a dinner party with old friends all going to this one house.
yeah,
And when they get there, it's weird things start happening. Like people are coming and going, and there's just this weird energy in the house, and then it goes off the rails as it goes on. But
yeah,
that's the general idea, and something about that just hit me all at once. Once I was finished with it, and I
mm-hmm,
thought like, oh, what if you can take any characters you want, and it just hit me all in one ball of like an idea where you'd have, because I love the desert. That's another theme. I
yeah,
don't know why, but
yeah.
um,
I do too. I think it's because it's easier to draw.
it's funner to draw too. Like
Yeah,
you draw these
it's
blocks,
textures. Mm-hmm.
and when it breaks, the way it manipulates it's just fun.
Yeah,
So anyway, in the desert, you've got these different characters that are gonna all come to this one house that's abandoned, and it's gonna be all to itself, kind of like they are.
yeah,
But they're all gonna go to the house, and the original idea was gonna be just that. It was just gonna be they're at the house, and people are coming and going, good characters, bad characters, and it would be like this family, and it would be over the course of the story that they'd build this connection. And but I just thought, no one's gonna want to read that. That's not enough. There needs to be more to this story. It needs to be bigger. It's too boring. It's so that was the very early, vague idea of what it could be.
Yeah.
That's where it spawned from.
And then you kind of, it's called Faceless in the Family for a reason, because this story really is about family and what does that mean, and there's your birth family and there's your found family and all that stuff. So it works. It's a really great, in the end, heartwarming and sweet story, and a lot of crazy stuff happens along the way. So I'll let people, read it and get into it. This design of the helmet is so cool. Only you would think of that. It's a very Matt Lesniewski. What's that?
I said that came later. Like in the back of that book, I've got a bunch of the designs and early sketches. Like at first, he just had I knew he'd be faceless, but
right.
Something eventually hit me. Like, oh, what if he's? I can't remember. I don't mind giving this away, but he basically the main character. He's left his gang, and for 10 years he's been in hiding because they're going to kill him, but also his original family. They threaten to kill them if you leave the gang. So he just decides, you know what? I'm not going to put them at risk. I'll just hide. He's in isolation. So I can't remember if I had that idea first. And then from that, I thought, okay, he needs to have a disguise. Somehow I just remembered the idea, okay, what if he's underground? Because the gang's underground, so he's kind of familiar with that. And, what if he uses the pipes that are around him and he's using what he's got. So he uses that as the masks. When that hit me, I thought, yeah, that's perfect. Like it's different. It's fun to draw. I could see that as like an icon type thing. Like no one's done that.
No.
But it works.
No one's done that. And everybody else would have stopped with a pipe on the head. But you went ahead and made this whole other thing off the back of him too. Because you're a madman.
Yeah, because
that wasn't enough for you, huh?
No, because I was like, you know what? This can be pushed further. It's still within this own reality. It makes sense. As crazy as that sounds, it's still a pipe, and you've got wiring that's kind of connected.
Yeah.
And there's different fun things you can do with that. So that was part of my thing. Like another early influence was Todd McFarlane. Like he was one of the early, and Spawn. He's famous for that. Like taking a character and then, as it goes on through the story, you can stretch and manipulate, and let's make his cape 20 feet long, and it's curving and warping, and so that's a part of my DNA.
Comics. So, doesn't have to be in reality.
Make our own reality.
That's right. It's way more interesting. I want to escape reality. I want Captain America to have wings on his head.
Right.
Like this, you really start to play also with automatopoeia, and you introduced the carpal tunnel gang here with text on the wall, kind of reminiscent of like Will Eisner, but you take it to like a whole other level.
Thanks.
Eventually, let me just find some pages where you see that. There's a lot to talk about in here. Like, look at this face. Look at this girl. Dude, you're cartooning from the books that you did before to this book exploded. Like your facial expressions and every facial expression in here, you feel the pain or the joy or
Thanks.
nuances of if they're questioning something. Just you've got nuance to it, and there's realism in it. And I don't know what you did between there, what kind of juice you drank, but I want some of that. It's just incredible.
Just coffee.
I need more coffee.
Keep
So here's
drinking.
what I'm talking about. Yeah. I've only had green tea today. It's coffee's up after this.
You're slacking.
Like, all right, Doom, you got it physically part of the composition here. You know,
Yeah.
it's in the world. Like you make no distinction between sound and physical objects in this thing.
It's kind of it's expanding on the idea that with hand lettering, I feel like it's more of an organic. It just makes sense more than the digital because it.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it always. It just makes more sense. Hey, this is a comic that someone drew, and when it's digital, even when it's good, it's still. To me, it's. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I know too much about how they're made and stuff, but there's
Yeah.
that mental leap of like I almost have to. It's almost what I imagine it like being if like you were an actor and you're watching movies and you just know you can see everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, that's
Yeah.
CGI.
You know how the
That's
sausage is made.
yeah, he's a bad actor, and oh, the lighting could have
Mm-hmm.
been better. And when I'm seeing the digital lettering, it just kind of. But anyway, my point is, why not do that with the sound effects too? You can kind
Yeah.
of work them into the world, and that just makes sense to me. So
You hand lettered the dialogue too
yeah,
on the page.
yeah,
You're insane. You're insane.
yeah.
It looks so good.
Thanks.
You know, if digital lettering is done right, you can't tell the difference with word balloons. I'll only say with word balloons because we were going over. James Edward Clark was on the show, and he wanted to talk about 100%, the Paul Pope book, and what's his name? The letterer who worked with Walt Simonson on Thor, John Workman, did lettering for that book.
Okay.
But Paul Pope also did like the sound effects by hand. But then sometimes there was call for a sound effect to be on the page as well, the same page. There would
Oh,
be hand lettered, then digital lettered,
that's
and then
yeah,
it was jarring. It took me
not a
right
good
out of it.
recipe.
No. And the fact that yeah, that's why this feels so good is because you did hand letter it. The book that I'm doing right now, I was going to hand letter it and I was talked very harshly out of it.
Really?
Yeah. Uh
Oh, you
well,
mean
not harshly, but
the dialogue?
the dialogue. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, the sound effects I'll always do by hand.
Right.
Always.
I mean,
But
there's nothing against
now
it. It's just a personal preference.
no, I like it too. I like the page to have the lettering right on it, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when I go and sell it too. It's like there's something to that. All my heavy
Yeah.
metal work I hand lettered, but those were like 8 pages at a time. It wasn't, what is this, like 150
120
pages, 120 pages of
of
story.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. Um.
I mean, maybe I'm a
Yeah.
control freak,
No,
but
I
I
just
actually I
no.
prefer it. Like
I am too.
I want to put it exactly where I want it. I feel like I know more than
Yep.
anyone, just to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm putting
Yep.
all this work into the art. Let me decide where this is going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm the same. I am very much the same way. I'm gonna letter it myself too digitally, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to do it.
Or
This
what you could
hand
do-
world is amazing.
Thanks. What you could do is hand letters separately and then just
Yeah.
paste it on, and then decide, hey,
Yeah.
is this working?
Yeah. 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 I know I could do it by hand and then scan it in and just digitally like paste it over the top
Right.
of it. And I don't have to physically paste it, but I might end up doing that.
Yeah.
We're getting into it. We're getting into cartoony nerddom here, but I had problems when I first was doing it with my heavy metal stories where it didn't seem like the words were super close to each other, like when I wrote it, and then I would scan it in and I would look and it would like two words next to each other would sort of blur, like my spacing wasn't right. So I think that's just practice on my part, but I'll get it. I could digitally move, like scoot them over too. So
yeah,
it's not that big of a deal. This hand world, so you get the idea here that they're not, on Earth. It's just like, I don't know if it's the hand of a fallen celestial god or just a strange shaped half an asteroid, but it's a really cool idea.
Thanks.
Yeah, there is just I just don't know what these pages just blow my mind. Here's the lettering again, and the way that you figured out, this sort of like non what's the word I'm looking for? Not non-linear, but like not parallel cross hatching, that sort of makes things soft, combined with stippling, combined with this very precise, it feels very precise cross hatching here. I assume you don't use a ruler except for your panel borders. Am I correct in that?
For the cross hatching, never use a ruler. But I do use
your
it.
Audio. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
You're back. Yep.
For the cross hatching, I never use it, but
right.
For setting up like perspective, I do pencil it with a ruler and then ink freehand.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm the same way. But your cross hatching is so like there's these. How big are these pages that you're working on?
They're 11 by 17, but I cropped off like about an inch at the top and bottom.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, but essentially 11
I
by
wasn't
17.
sure if you were working huge.
No. I don't like going any bigger than that, really.
I don't know if you can see what I've got on the board right now, but I'm doing a double page spread, and it is
can't really
24
see it.
by 36. Yeah, it's 24 by 36. It's stupid.
Doesn't that take you forever?
No, it doesn't take me forever. It takes me about the same amount of time. But I can throw my shoulder into it and not use. I'm a brush guy, so like I like to have that fluid thing where I can just do a nice long organic line that'll change in its thickness. I can get it on 11 by 17, but I don't know. I just decided to do it huge this time.
Yeah, go for it. I'm the
I think I might be nuts. Yeah.
I like to have complete control, like the most precision possible, which is why I like to use the microns, because it's the most predictable line. I don't want to. Why add another element of chance to something where you already don't completely know what's going to happen? That's just my philosophy. I rather.
I was the exact same way all the way through high school. I went to 1 year of college. The only thing I got out of college was how to tell somebody else that you don't like their work. And the figure drawing teacher broke me of that control and taught me a little bit how to be more free. Now, I don't know if that's not necessarily him saying it's good or bad. It just happened. And so now I'm sort of this weird balance between the two. But you've got this flow too. You've got this flow in your line as well, so you naturally have it.
I mean, in the
And you do
penciling,
everything with Micron, right?
mostly, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
in the penciling phase, I like to be. It's more of a like flow state.
That,
Just
that's where
I'm
it's
more so
at.
talking the inking part. Like the inking is
I got you. Yeah.
very intentional.
Yeah. I like to break out the microns, especially for faces and eyes and things that need to have expression. Man, just your faces are just so good.
Thanks.
You got and listen, look at this one, this like Zappa looking dude.
Oh yeah, Giant Jerry.
Is that Giant Jerry with the goggles on?
No, no, no. Oh, I thought you meant the other guy.
Oh. Um Man, there was some. I was looking at it yesterday, and there's just some like, I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I don't want people to look at it and get spoiled. But God, that face! Look at how like weathered and tired he is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I can't say enough. I can't say enough about it. But in the small faces too, where where you're doing like where's my finger? There it is. Where you're doing like a simpler line because it's a smaller. You're drawing small at this point. Like
What part?
Toth had this ability to like capture people's expressions and emotions just in like a pressure touch of his marker,
Mm-hmm.
and you have that with these microns to some degree. It's just you're capturing expression in a tiny little thing, and it's very, very, very hard to do if people don't know. It's not easy. Like you had to have worked on that. You had to have been thinking about that, and
Uh,
I see it. I appreciate
thanks.
it.
Thanks for pointing it out. Yeah, it's not it can be tough. Like trying to there is that balance of like how do I distill this down without losing too much, but also get everything in there that I want. So it's like a balance.
Right. These crowd scenes, you kind of went back to um to just like a line work, like
Yeah,
like you did in the Freak, and then spot blacked the characters so you would know where they were.
right,
I take it that's just so you'd be able to focus on them. Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's another thing in this book. I kind of in I think the next issue also or somewhere in there as it went on, that was another thing I was playing with. Like, all right, how do I get these crowds in here, and especially if they're in the foreground, you need them to be, read as if they're up front, but not the focus. So
Yeah.
there was different ways I kind of like. I think there's one where I think it might be only a page or two forward or somewhere in there where he's running after the guy who stole his bag.
Yes.
I think I do it there.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that the
Yep. You
first
sure do.
panel?
You do it all over the place here. There's the first panel. This is where he's got the coins back. But here, he was running after him here, and you just kind of like silhouette the characters in line. Not silhouette, but like a negative silhouette or whatever you want to call it. Outline them.
Let me pull it up.
I wanted to point this face out too, as a small face that you drew that you just nailed. Like
Oh,
her
thanks.
expression in that is just gorgeous.
Thanks.
I mean, you're really onto something, man.
Glad you like it.
I mean, you're not onto it. You found it. So I'm gonna kind of skip to the to the back a little bit. If you don't mind, I'm gonna just show a little bit of the extras. Is that okay?
Sure.
So this is sort of where you were kind of designing the the helmet, right? So the pipe, and then you went on to all of this extra stuff.
Hang on one. Let me
I love seeing the process of this stuff. You want to
just 2
find it?
seconds. I'll grab a copy so I can actually
Yeah.
see this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Go to back. Okay. Yeah, concept art.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was different. I knew I got the idea. All right, there's going to be a pipe on his head, but and more than likely it would be a grate or something that he needs
Yeah.
to obviously see through. So how do I
Right.
make that work? And then
Yeah, so you had it where it flipped down in the beginning, but that would show his face, right? So you moved on to a grate.
well, I was thinking maybe if you had it in shadow, that could
Yeah.
work. Plus, it's
Right.
a little goofy. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And then also the one on the right, he's got the little neck brace. I thought that was
Yeah.
another. I ended up getting rid of that mainly because it's just practicality wise. If he's turning and fighting and doing all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be. I mean, we're really contorting reality here, but how much? There's a point where there's a line. So
Yeah. Yes.
I just thought initially that would be a cool. Hey, he's almost becoming one with a pipe. How do we
Yeah.
how do we communicate that? And that's another because if you saw that pipe attached to a wall or something, there might be a little brace thing that holds down.
Mm-hmm.
Like his neck is almost another pipe, so that makes sense. But
Did you find
eventually I
yourself
decided
paying a lot of attention to pipes while you were trying to design this?
in my head,
Yeah. Yeah.
for sure. So, but anyway, yeah, I ended up, the one on the cover that's the final. So
Right. Yeah. It's cool to see the evolution of that. And the evolution of the gang and the other characters in the story, you know, all this little
yeah,
notebook, the thought process, you can just see it sort of coming through. And then you got these early attempts at thumbnails too, which is really, really cool. So this was just like your first pass at it.
this was an early iteration of the story, so
Okay.
it's different from like if you really zoom in there on page one. He's got a
Mm-hmm.
completely different mask. It's like just a generic mask, and then not only that, he's
Yeah.
sitting on the edge of a bed in a room.
Right.
So the story was at that point he's not in the statue yet.
Right.
Oh wait, yes he is.
No, he is, but he made a
It's
room
just
in it,
he
I
happens
guess.
to have a room
Yeah.
down there
Right.
because there was, if I remember right, there was a version of it where he's not in the statue yet. He's just like,
Oh, is that right?
yeah, he's just hiding in like a shack or something.
Let me
But at
flip
this
some
point,
pages to the. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but at this point, he doesn't have the pipe yet. The pipe
Right.
helmet. So you can kind
Yeah,
of
that
see
hasn't
it's
come along in your design yet. So I see you designed some of the other major characters before you even got to the pipe, huh?
um
Because you got Jerry there. He looks pretty much like Jerry's gonna
yeah.
look. I mean, at least in scribble form.
The only thing this was a, if I remember right, this was going to be, it's very similar. The core of the story is the same, but
Yeah.
it was going to be more of a slow burn, like I said, where they would meet each other and it would be more of an organic over time. Because the way it is, I kind of had to make it a little more snappy and like, all right, let's kind of move it along. So they meet each other and connect pretty quickly in the
Hmm.
official version of it. But if you look, like, we're on page 46, that would have been the end of issue 1. So it was initially going to be
Right.
a
Oh, okay.
46-page issue, but it ended
Gotcha.
up, for the Zoop, chapter 1 ended up being 24 pages. But then when we get to the
Mm-hmm.
Oni version, they just combined what was issue 1 and 2. So it ended up being
I see.
that long anyway. It's just 2 issues worth.
Yeah.
So,
And then this is cool to see some of your like early, real tries for it. So how early was this before you actually started the pages that wound up in the story? Like this seems like a different style era.
there was like a 4-month gap because I did these 4 pages, and then I was supposed to do something else, and it fell
Mm-hmm.
through.
Mm.
And then I'd pick this back up. But then when I did, I decided, you know what, that longer version of the story, no one's gonna want that. It's not sharp enough. It's not. I need
Got
to
you.
kind of sharpen this and make it more, accessible, I guess.
Yeah. It's interesting because you settled into a lighter, almost a lighter hand. It's
Part of that is
the
the scan, I think, because they don't really.
oh,
These
is
pages
it?
don't.
Okay.
Yeah, these pages don't really look like this.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. Looks like
It's not
maybe
the
they were
best.
like yeah.
It's not the best translation of what that really looks like, unfortunately. But
You show so this is how you kind of presented or showed the statue in these like sample or these early pages, and then this is sort of how it ended up being. So it's
yeah,
very very close.
It started off. Yeah, the statue itself is pretty close because I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was one major change was it was more of a sand. There would be sections of the world where there's sand, and then it would turn into more the blocky, solid environment. And I just decided, you know what, that's for one reason or another. Let's get rid of that and make it all one
Right.
style.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that was a smart choice.
Here's more of your layouts. This looks more like mine, where it's like just stick figures.
Oh yeah,
You're just
these are
making
the
sure you got
real
the flow right in the composition.
these are the real layouts for the official book.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
that's how I ended up doing them. They're just kind of like these are on scrap paper, and I
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop put them all together for this.
Yeah.
It's really on like little scrap sheets of paper, all just like, all right, let me figure out these 3 pages, draw the 3
Yeah.
pages, then do another chunk.
Well, man, it's really cool. And then you got like this pinup gallery. You got Alexis Zurett, really awesome. Anderson Carmen, Buster Moody. Oh, who's that?
Who's that?
That was a lot of fun to do. It was a lot of fun to try to play with your style, but also incorporate mine, kind of almost marry the two.
Yeah.
Wasn't hard because I'm wiggly and goofy, and so are you. So it kind of worked. This is what your stuff would look like if you used a brush more.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really it's just such a great book. And so then after this came out, you got picked up by Oni. That's like almost that's the best of both worlds. You get to crowdfund this thing, bring it out, maybe make a buck or two, and then get published by an official publisher after that. I mean, that's what I tried to do. That had to be kind of exciting. Or did you already have it set up before the Zoop happened?
That was after.
Yeah.
I got lucky with that. They reached out and saw that it would already had some success with it, already had some attention on it. Hey, why not attempt to get into another audience?
Yeah.
Because the crowdfunding audience, from what I can tell, it's a different. You'd think they're, hey, everyone's on the internet, everyone's got a smartphone now. It's, if you want this book, hey, it's on Zoop, click a button and it's yours. But you've got the audience that also, quote unquote, Wednesday warrior crowd, and that's a whole other world. So it's another market.
Yeah.
So that's cool for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's another way to, capitalize on the one work that you made. If you can, why not try to spread it out there as much as you can? You've got digital, you've got crowdfunding, you've got the direct market.
Yep.
And then you've got the foreign editions. You've got, not only that, you could one day do a color version.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
1,000%. Yeah, that's sort of my bit with this book that I'm doing. That's sort of where I'm going with it, because I'm going to sort of serialize it on my Patreon, hopefully grow the Patreon to have some sort of passive income so people can read it while I'm working on it, then crowdfund it into an actual book with just spot color. And then if some publisher wants to pick it up, we can have a discussion about what they want to do with it. The interesting thing with this is that it's magazine size, and the Oni book is traditional comic size. So how did that work? Is it just sort of a cropping thing, or?
I think that just kind of made sense. Like, hey, why not? Makes sense this is the world that it's going in.
Yeah.
With the Zoop one, it was more like, let's really try to showcase the art. I put so much time into it, so let's make it a little bigger, and we've got the freedom to do it.
Yeah.
And then it also,
I guess I'm realizing now that you have like a big white border around most of the pages. So cropping it to a regular comic size is probably what you intended originally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Some of them it's really on the sides.
Yeah.
Where the white is, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's meant to be standard comic size, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, shit, man. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for walking through this stuff with me. I'm just like such a big fan of your work and your evolution, and I just can't wait to see where you take it from there. I mean, I'm serious when I say that you're one of the most exciting people for me right now to be looking at. Where can people find your work?
Well, thanks for the kind words. That means a lot.
It's just honest.
What's that?
It's just honest. I'm just being honest.
I appreciate it. I've got a website now, mattdrawseverything.com. Everything's there. But if you want to find other stuff, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter. I've got a Patreon. It's not official yet, but I guess I'll just say it. If people have gotten this far, I'm going to be doing a second volume of Faceless. So.
Oh, nice. I was wondering.
Yeah. So it's pretty much out there, because in the last issue of the Oni version, it says to be continued.
Okay.
Which
that just came out yesterday, I think, in continuity with this. Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, something like that.
Sure.
But yeah, it's going to be a brand new story, but the same world. So it's going to be kind of continuing, but it's a whole new. So even if you haven't read the first one, technically you could pick up the second, but it's going to be like a number one. So
great.
So it's going to have a different title too. It'll be Faceless. ... I'm not going to tell you now, but
I like that title. Anyway, ...
So anyway, if you want to, you can go to my Patreon, where I'm going to be making it in real time and posting it, so you can see it before anyone else. Plus, I'll be posting process for each panel. So that's anywhere between 6 to 10 images per panel. So from like pencils, inks, lettering. Um, yeah. So that's where you can find me. Also, I mean, I've got a YouTube channel too, but I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm always trying to do that, but I mean, it takes time, and I don't really know what to do.
Yes, it does.
And it already takes forever to do this, but I'm like,
I
yeah,
know.
maybe if I could grow that, that'll grow my audience to want to read the comics. But who knows?
I know. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, man. All right. Well, I'll make sure that all that stuff gets in the show notes and whatnot so people can check it out. But, again, just thank you a bazillion for coming on here. Maybe when the next
No
one
sweat.
comes out, you can come back on. We can look at another book and,
For sure.
just keep going and look forward. Are you going to be at Heroes this year? Do you know?
Probably not. I think I'm
Okay.
more than likely not doing any shows. Just going to be head down,
Yeah. Just
do the book.
Yep.
I need all the time I can get.
Yeah.
More than like maybe I'll do New York Comic Con, but even that one, because I can drive to that one.
Sure.
But other than that, I probably won't do any.
Okay. Well, then I won't see you this year.
All right. Yeah.
And I'll catch you when it's done. Hey, it's the cartoonist
I'm
life,
hoping
man.
maybe next year, but then
Yeah.
then again, if it goes well, try for a third volume.
Hey, keep it going.
If I can. I don't know. I just need people to read it.
Yeah.
You
Keep
know?
that sweet, sweet cartooning money coming in.
That's the hope. That's the
That
hope.
is the hope. Yeah, man. All right. Well, thanks a lot again and take care, dude.
You too.
All right. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my Patreon, where at the $3 level, I'll send you my sketchbook, The Sketch of the Masters. And at the $5 level, I'll send you the sketchbook plus my mini stories, not Man nor Beast, but Moss, Stench of the Sea, and The Voyeur. At the $8 level, after a year, you'll get a commission. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter in the show notes. Check out my store, where I have lots of original art. And you can also buy books like Lost Angels, a sci-fi YA adventure about a girl who has to solve a mystery in a crashed alien city. Spectral, a showcase of fear, is about a sinister puppet master who travels from town to town telling tales to children who may never sleep again. You can request a commission at any time just by contacting me. Here is a list of the upcoming conventions that I'll be at the time that this video was released. And don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the video. Again, thanks for watching.